Samaritan says, sure, I'll give you a ride. Well, he hopped in, and about a half mile down the road, the kid actually pulled out a glass bottle and beat the victim, robbed him, and attempted to steal his SUV as well. And right here at home, warming shelters will be open once again later today to help those trying to escape the cold weather. Last night, the Salvation... It was a deadly first day of the year in Manatee County. 3 deadly shootings happening less than 2 miles from each other, and now the search is on for the killers this morning. They're trying to bring this community together no matter a person's background. However, a number of pastors I spoke with today around town say that they believe that Brian's teachings are simply facts coming straight from the good book. No one ever said that criminals are smart. This guy, a pretty good indication of that. A drunken joyride in a police car ended with a crash, and this guy behind Instructors give assistance on everything from self-esteem for interviews to networking, even social media. All new tonight, a very disturbing case out of Manatee County. Deputies have arrested a man they say abused 4 different girls over the past 3 years. Well, just about the only thing worse than having your car towed, of course, is having that car towed and then having it damaged by the tow truck. That is the million-dollar question, and at this point, even the mayor doesn't actually know, but he says he is confident that the city will find the funding to make this actually happen. He was doing well, despite being a bit shaken up after taking that stray bullet right to the leg. Now, this was a major problem across St. Pete last night. In fact, they arrested 5 people in connection with shooting off shots right at the stroke of midnight. And check this out. This is something that a police officer discovered when he started his shift last night. A bullet had actually shattered his windshield. Overwhelming outreach continues to pour in for a family coping with tragedy. A couple from Georgia was killed in a car crash on Halloween. Their 4 surviving children are now living with family in Sarasota. Well, you know, Wendy, investigators are still trying to determine that at this hour. Now, some tell deputies the pair was dating. Others say they were simply friends. Well, one thing is for sure, investigators say both had a history of trouble.
I'm totally shocked. It's a wonderful family.
Jana Scott is still trying to wrap her head around it. Her longtime neighbor and good friend, Carl Tuxford, gunned down.
He's a fine, upstanding young man. Yeah, anybody you'd want to be your friend or you're related to you or anything.
Someone shot Tuxford near the intersection of 8th Street East and 12th Avenue in Bradenton Tuesday afternoon. Hours later, the body of 23-year-old Jordan Finland was discovered dumped on the side of the road near Palmetto. After finding out the pair knew each other, investigators now believe there's a link in the murders.
We'll be diving into both their histories, who they were hanging around with, what they've been doing.
Investigators aren't saying how Finland died just yet. They believe it could be a very important clue in this case. However, they are giving us clues into the victim's background. Tuxford has a history with the law. Among the charges, possession of stolen property. Finland, we're told, has a history with drugs.
Told that she did use drugs. Obviously, that's one thing that we're looking at as far as possible motivation here.
We spoke with Tuxford's relatives Wednesday, shortly before they headed to speak with Manatee County investigators. Too shaken up to speak on camera, they tell us he was simply in the wrong place at the wrong time. Now both detectives, along with family and friends, will try to piece together exactly what happened. And investigators here with the sheriff's office says they will continue to reach out to witnesses, try to gather any sort of information they can. Now, they do stress that both of these murders happened in broad daylight, so they're pretty sure that someone knows something. For now, reporting live in Manatee County tonight, Rodney Dunigan, ABC Action News. This is all a part of a long-term plan to invest in this community. The city plans to rehab homes as well as businesses and also create job training for folks in this community. Now, all of this in a part of the city that even city administrators admit has been long underserved. With every minute spent here, Stephen Gregg is working to build a brighter future for himself.
When you walk on a job, you already have the knowledge to do the work.
Greg is one of a number of trainees learning the basics at LumaStream. The St. Pete-based LED tech company has created a workforce development program aimed at getting people in this community back to work.
It's been wonderful, and it changes the whole direction of people's lives.
The initiative at LumaStream is just one of those highlighted in the city's South St. Pete Community Redevelopment Plan. Millions will eventually be pumped into the poorest neighborhoods. Funds will be used to pay for infrastructure improvements for housing and businesses, and also to develop job training programs.
And the good thing is that as you increase the value of a property, it also increases the value of the surrounding properties. And which increases tax revenue, which feeds back into it. So it becomes a virtuous circle of increasing values and increasing revenue to speed up the redevelopment of the area.
Greg believes the initiative will be a major step in changing this community. He looks at himself as a perfect example.
Oh, I learned a lot. And it's helped me stabilize myself.
Now, again, city administrators admit that this will be a long-term process. They're thinking about 30 years, but eventually this will pump about $70 million back into this community. Laura, and as you can imagine, she was very emotional. The family has been shaken by all of this. In fact, she tells me that at this hour, her father is actually in New York City planning a flight to come down here to Florida to be with the family. Now, despite that new information we learned this afternoon, she says she simply cannot understand why anyone would do this to her brother.
It hurts my heart so bad. I don't know what to do.
Jessica Washington was visibly shaken Wednesday, devastated at the thought of what happened to her brother David.
That's a sad thing to wake up to and listen to.
She stood by as Polk County deputies investigated the vicious triple murder here along the 23rd block of Magnolia Drive at Lakeland. Washington, along with two women inside the home, Stacy Branch and Angelica Castro, shot to death. A fourth man, Felix Campos, was found alive. Investigators say he'd been shot in the face. The local sheriff described it as a slaughter. Family and friends of the victims in disbelief.
I need to call her. They didn't call her.
We were told one of the young women was a mother of two.
Kill another human being for nothing. It's sad. It's always sad. That was senseless, to go in there and kill 3 people or shoot 4 people. You killed a mother that has 2 kids.
Washington also tells us that she was at the home last night, just hours before this apparently happened, shaken by the thought of what could have happened to her or her children.
Oh, I can't believe it. My kids could have potentially been here. My kids come here all the time. I don't know what to say.
And now the investigation goes on to the hunt for the killer or possibly killers in this case. Investigators tell us that they will be eventually speaking with that fourth person shot inside of this home once he recovers, and also speaking with people in this neighborhood, hoping to gather information that can possibly lead to the arrest of a suspect. For now, reporting live in Lakeland tonight, Rodney Dunigan, ABC Action News.